Welcome back to the deep dive. We take the source materials you provide and we distill them. We turn them into that high-octane knowledge that helps you get truly well-informed.
Exactly.
Our mission today, it's a deep exploration into some really powerful tools in English. The conversational shortcuts.
Right, idiomatic phrases.
Exactly. We're trying to move past just basic vocabulary, into the kind of fluency that makes English really sound alive.
And this is, well, it's critical for any serious learner, wouldn't you say? If you only stick to literal translations, you miss so much, this huge, colorful layer of meaning that idioms give us. They really are the cultural currency of conversation. Mastering them, that's the difference. The difference between just putting words together correctly and, actually getting into the rhythm and the nuance of real natural English.
So it's about context and tone.
Context, tone, and sometimes, the surprising history behind them. Because without that context, you're often missing, well, half the story.
Okay. And we've got a fantastic framework for this dive today. We're not just looking at, a dry list of definitions.
No, definitely not.
Our sources give us this really dynamic, almost theatrical scene. It's an American family argument, the Nicole's Day at School dialogue.
That's the one. It's perfect. It gives us that emotional context map right away.
And after we look at that snapshot, we've got a detailed breakdown, 12 core phrases.
And the goal here is comprehensive understanding. We're aiming for something you can apply immediately. So we'll dissect that family exchange line by line.
Focusing on how the phrases move between, praise, envy?
Praise, envy, and even outright conflict.
Yeah.
And then we're going to spend some serious time on the really unique phrases. The ones with surprising backstories or maybe multiple meanings that can trip you up.
Just to make sure it sticks. For you, the learner.
Maximize retention, exactly.
Sounds like a solid plan. So we'll let the sources guide us. Let's jump right into section 1 where we see these idioms, in situ.
In action.
In action. We're analyzing this conflict, right? Nicole, her supportive mom, Susan, and then Ted, her brother. Less supportive.
He's the disruptive element, for sure.
In this immediate context, I think that's what makes this source material so valuable.
I agree. This short, pretty charged dialogue, it throws 8 core phrases at us almost immediately. It gives us these emotional anchors that are, frankly, much stronger than just memorizing a list.
Right.
We start with Nicole's success, some praise, but then it goes downhill pretty fast into envy and threats.
Okay, let's start with the positive then. Nicole's success. She gave a presentation on Hillary Clinton, it says here, and she was clearly, really happy with how it went.
Thrilled.
She tells her mother, Susan, that her teacher gave great feedback. She says, afterwards, my teacher paid me a compliment.
Okay, to pay someone a compliment. Pretty straightforward on the surface. It just means, offering and admiring comments, something flattering.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is the little note our source material adds. It calls this a wonderful, cost-free action.
Cost-free. I like that. It's like an investment, but with no financial outlay.
Exactly. It's an investment in social capital. It builds goodwill.
So it's got a high return on investment, socially speaking.
Absolutely. Think about the dynamics. The source mentions an example, Professor Russo paying Jennifer a compliment on her smile.
Yeah.
It's a small moment, right? But it builds rapport. It costs nothing tangible to offer genuine praise. But the reward, the goodwill, the positive feeling, the reinforcement, that's pretty substantial. So for you listening, when you hear this phrase, recognize it means genuine, specific praise has just been offered.
And the response is usually just simple gratitude.
Simple gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's usually all that's needed.
Okay. And the praise Nicole got wasn't just good job. It was way more than that. The teacher said her presentation was head and shoulders above the others.
Ah, head and shoulders above. This is such a great visual metaphor.
Yeah, you can picture it.
You really can. Imagine someone literally standing taller than everyone else in a crowd. You only see their head and shoulders above the rest. It conveys immediate, unquestionable superiority.
So not just a little bit better.
No, not at all. Far superior. The difference in quality is supposed to be vast, undeniable.
Okay, but I wonder, though, when you use a phrase that strong, isn't there a risk? You might sound a bit arrogant, declaring such a huge gap in quality.
Well, that's where context is absolutely key.
Yeah.
If you say your own work is head and shoulders above, that sounds arrogant, big time.
Right.
But when it's used by someone else, especially an objective observer like a teacher, Or source gives the example of critics talking about the Boston Symphony Orchestra.
Ah, yes.
Then it acts more like an objective stamp of excellence. It carries weight because it's external validation.
The Boston Symphony example is good. It says they're head and shoulders above any other orchestra in the area. It really sets a benchmark.
And check out the second example in our notes. This one really highlights the nuance. It says a presentation could win second prize in a competition,
Okay.
yet still be considered head and shoulders above the one that actually won first prize.
Oh, interesting. So quality over just the win itself.
Exactly. It prioritizes inherent quality, maybe effort, over just the technical victory or, whatever metrics they used. It's about recognizing true mastery, even if the official result doesn't quite capture it. You use this phrase, when the excellence isn't just noticeable, it's kind of fundamentally superior.
Got it. Now, before Ted arrives and spoils everything, Susan, the mom, she has this moment of just pure pride. She says, way to go.
Perfect. It's that burst of enthusiasm. Short, punchy, sounds totally sincere.
It just means good work.
Yeah.
Or well done.
Basically, yeah. It signals immediate approval, encouragement. Very positive.
It feels like the kind of thing you just blurt out when something good happens. Like the source mentions winning a $2,000 poetry contest.
Way to go.
Or
Exactly.
you finish a big project early.
Way to go.
Yeah.
It's just straightforward, high-impact, positive reinforcement. Great for building momentum.
It feels pretty casual.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
Very common, very safe way to celebrate wins, big or small, among friends, family, even colleagues in the right setting.
Okay. But, the celebration doesn't last long.
No. Enter Ted.
The disruptive element, he cuts right in. And his assessment of Nicole's enthusiasm just completely shifts the mood. He says, "You're so gung-ho about school. It drives me crazy."
But bam, we've gone from praise to criticism in what? 2 short phrases, gung-ho,
Yeah.
which, by the way, we're going to circle back to and really unpack later.
Okay.
But here, Ted's using it to mean she's very enthusiastic, maybe too enthusiastic, in his opinion.
Right. Almost overly excited,
And it's that high energy that seems to be the problem for him.
which leads to his reaction. It drives him crazy. This sounds pretty intense, not just mildly annoyed.
No, it signifies profound irritation, high-intensity annoyance. He is very irritated by her enthusiasm.
Okay, and this is where the sources give us those synonyms, right? To drive one nuts and to drive one up the wall.
Exactly. And this is useful because while they all mean annoy someone a lot, they can carry slightly different emotional weights or flavors.
So how would you, as a learner, tell them apart? They all seem to mean really annoyed.
Well, drives me crazy is probably the most common, almost the default for strong irritation.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts might feel a little more visceral, maybe leaning more towards exasperation, like you just can't handle it anymore.
Okay.
But drives me up the wall, that one has a strong visual feel to it. Like you're literally pacing, feeling trapped by the annoyance, frantic.
Cornered, almost.
Yeah, cornered and overwhelmed. It's arguably the most dramatic of the three. It suggests the irritation is making you feel agitated, maybe even a bit desperate.
So, okay, maybe like someone chewing gum loudly next to you for 5 minutes. That might drive you crazy.
Right, standard irritation.
But your neighbor deciding to practice their electric guitar riffs at 3 a.m. every night for a week.
That might drive you up the wall.
Okay, that makes sense. You choose based on the level of intensity you want to convey. It shows there are shades of meaning even in these strong phrases.
Precisely. Good for the learner to recognize those gradients.
Now, Nicole obviously isn't happy about this, and her response targets Ted's action. She says, "Ted, don't butt in."
Okay, butt in. This is a really crucial one for navigating social situations. And notice, the source flags it specifically as slang.
Right. That's a warning sign.
Big time.
Yeah.
It means it's informal, and it can be quite rude depending on who you're talking to, how you say it. It means to interrupt or to interfere where you're not wanted.
So we should probably spend a moment on the social danger here. When should a learner just avoid this phrase altogether?
Honestly, avoid it in almost any formal or professional setting. It carries a real implication of unwelcome intrusion, of being rude. Think about the examples the source gives.
Okay.
There's Sarah, who's considered rude because she always butts into other people's conversations, and Nancy, who's always butting into other people's business.
So it's not just interrupting speech. It can be interfering in someone's affairs, too.
Exactly. When you butt into a conversation, you're kind of forcing yourself in where you weren't invited. When you butt into someone's business, you're crossing a line about their personal life, their work, their decisions.
The slang label really suggests it's a critical term, then. It's like an accusation.
It is. It's an accusation of rudeness, not a polite request to stop talking. So For the learner, if someone tells you not to butt in, you should probably recognize you've made a bit of a social blunder,
Sure.
a significant one, potentially.
Okay, good to know. Nicole then immediately and correctly figures out why Ted is being disruptive, jealousy.
Right.
And Ted, surprisingly, just owns up to it, which leads us to two more idioms back to back. You hit the nail on the head, I'm green with envy.
That's a great little exchange there to hit the nail on the head. Fantastic expression. It means you are exactly right. You've made a perfect assessment or statement.
The image is so precise, isn't it? Like carpentry.
Yeah, hitting the nail square on. Not missing, not hitting it sideways. Perfect contact.
It implies real accuracy, like you just nailed the truth.
Precision, and maybe even an instant realization for the listener. The source example. Dawn hit the nail on the head when she figured out Tiffany was jealous. It's often used when someone cuts through confusion or complexity and states the core truth simply and accurately.
And it's usually complimentary to the person who said the insightful thing.
Very much so. It's like saying, wow, you got it exactly right.
And what Ted admits Nicole got right was his own feeling, green with envy.
Ah, yes. One of the classic, most colorful idioms for jealousy.
Why green, though, does the source say?
It mentions the association goes back centuries. It's linked to old ideas about bile, sickness, the physical discomfort that intense jealousy can cause. Being green with envy means you want what someone else has, their advantages, their stuff so badly that it makes you feel physically uncomfortably ill almost.
That sounds pretty intense.
It is. And the source examples really emphasize that intensity. You might be green with envy when a colleague gets a big promotion to vice president.
Right, something significant.
Or the other example, your neighbor wins the lottery and you're green with envy. This isn't just minor wishing. It's deep-seated, maybe even painful jealousy about major life changes or possessions.
It's a really vivid way to express that universal feeling of intense longing, using color emotionally, not just descriptively.
Exactly. When you hear this phrase, you know the jealousy being described is strong, deep, and probably not very pleasant for the person feeling it.
Okay, but now the conversation really takes a nosedive. It gets aggressive.
It escalates quickly.
Nicole has clearly had enough of the sarcasm, the butting in, and she deploys, well, kind of a conversational weapon. Would you just shut up? You're on thin ice with me right now.
Okay, well, let's pause here. Shut up. The source material gives a very clear, very important warning about this one.
Yes, it says in all caps, telling somebody to shut up is rude.
Non-negotiable. It's aggressive, it's absolute, and it's socially very risky.
So, for someone learning English, understanding that social risk is maybe even more critical than just knowing it means be quiet, why is it so much ruder?
Because shut up isn't just a request for silence. It's a command. It often implies anger, frustration, and a complete dismissal of whatever the other person's saying, or even their right to speak at all. It's inherently confrontational.
So, using it in the wrong setting could have real consequences.
Absolutely. In a professional context.
Yeah.
Or even many social ones. Saying shut up could seriously damage a relationship, maybe even cost you a job. It's really reserved for high conflict moments, usually personal ones, like this argument between siblings. Or maybe in moments of extreme frustration. But you have to be prepared for fallout.
So learners need those alternatives the source provides.
Definitely. The source suggests be quiet, which is still direct, blunt even, but it carries less of that aggressive baggage.
Still maybe not super polite, but better than shut up.
Right. And then the preferred, truly polite option is, please be quiet. It maintains respect while still making the need clear. The rule of thumb really should be, don't use shut up unless you are fully aware of and prepared for the negative reaction it will likely cause.
Good advice. And the consequence for Ted for pushing Nicole too far is spelled out immediately. He's on thin ice with her.
Another brilliant visual metaphor pulled right from the physical world. To be on thin ice, it means you're in a risky, dangerous spot. You've annoyed someone or broken a rule, and you're temporarily on their bad side. One wrong move.
And the ice breaks, you fall through.
Exactly. You risk serious trouble, serious consequences.
What's interesting to me is how this phrase seems to cover a wide range of bad situations, from minor to major.
Yes, and the source material illustrates that spectrum perfectly. On the, let's say, milder end, Jody spent his lunch money on candy bars. That put him on thin ice with his mom.
Okay, that's bad, but maybe the consequence is getting grounded.
Manageable. Right. But then look at the other example the source gives. Bill was on thin ice with his girlfriend after she saw him at the movies with another girl.
Whoa. Okay, that's relationship ending territory, potentially. Much higher stakes.
Totally different scale of consequence. So the phrase on thin ice itself doesn't tell you how severe the punishment will be. It just tells you that you are currently in a zone of high risk. You've messed up, and you're close to facing serious repercussions, whatever they might be.
And the source also mentions a variation to skate on thin ice. Is that different?
Slightly. To skate on thin ice often emphasizes the action itself, doing something you know is risky. Joey knew he was skating on thin ice when he bought the candy instead of lunch. It implies a conscious awareness that your behavior could lead to trouble. It's about actively engaging in risky business.
So on thin ice is the state of being in danger. Skating on thin ice is the act of putting yourself there.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Excellent phrase for talking about consequences and risky choices.
Okay, but Ted, ever the antagonist here,
You just won't quit.
he completely dismisses Nicole's warning. Pure sarcasm. He says, "Oh no, look at me, I'm shaking in my shoes."
To shake in one's shoes. The literal meaning is to tremble with fear, to be really, truly afraid. It conjures up this image of someone so scared they're physically shaking right down to their feet.
It implies a very high level of fear or anxiety.
Absolutely. And Ted's sarcasm works precisely because the listener understands that genuine shaking in one's shoes implies paralyzing terror. By saying it sarcastically, he's mocking the idea that Nicole's threat actually scares him at all.
Right, he's implying the threat is laughable.
Exactly. And we see that genuine terror in the source's other examples. Brianna is so scared of her French teacher, this Monsieur Le Monstre,
Great name.
that she literally starts shaking in her shoes whenever he just speaks to her. That's real fear. Or little Billy, hiding under the table during a thunderstorm, shaking in his shoes.
Primal fear.
Exactly. These examples show deep, unsettling fear. Ted's ironic usage completely flips that. He uses the phrase's inherent drama to minimize and mock his sister's warning.
Wow. Okay, so just that one family interaction, maybe a minute of dialogue, gave us 8 idioms.
8 core phrases, yeah, covering everything from genuine compliments
Like, pay me a compliment.
to expressing absolute superiority,
Head and shoulders above.
enthusiastic agreement,
Way to go.
annoyance,
Drives me crazy.
interruption,
That's accurate insights.
hit the nail on the head,
Intense jealousy.
green with envy,
Aggressive commands and warnings.
shut up and on thin ice,
And finally, expressing fear, real or sarcastic.
shaking in one's shoes. We've really mapped out the emotional territory and the social risks.
And context was everything. Now we can transition to a deeper, more focused analysis of a couple of these. We flagged Ted using gung-ho to describe Nicole.
Right, you said we'd come back to that
I
one.
did, because his history is really quite unique, and it's a perfect example of how English just absorbs words from all over the place. Okay, so that family argument showed us the phrases in action. But now let's do that deeper analysis on 2 specific ones, starting with the one that honestly just sounds different from typical English words. Gung-ho.
Exactly. The sound of it, gung-ho, it immediately makes you think, that probably doesn't come from Old English or Latin.
Right.
And you'd be correct. It's direct import, linguistically speaking.
Yeah.
Which makes it a great aha moment for learners. It shows language is dynamic.
So take us back. Where did gung-ho start its journey?
Okay, we need to go to China, Mandarin Chinese specifically. The phrase that eventually became gung-ho comes from the characters gung-he.
Gung-he. And what did that mean originally?
Roughly, it translates to working together or maybe industrial harmony.
Yeah.
It was used, especially in the early 20th century, to talk about cooperation, collective effort, often linked to industrial cooperatives in China.
Wow. Okay, so it started as a term about teamwork, collaboration.
Yeah.
Not really how we use gung-ho now, is it? Now it means super enthusiastic, almost excessively so.
Totally different vibe now, right? And the shift happened because of conflict. World War II, specifically.
Oh, so?
Well, there was a U.S. Marine Corps commander, Lieutenant Colonel Evans Carlson, serving in China. He was impressed by the teamwork and spirit he saw in some Chinese forces, possibly linked to these cooperative movements. He needed something to build morale and cohesion in his own unit, the Marine Raiders.
Okay.
So he adopted a version of gung-he, which got transliterated into English as gung-ho, as the motto for his battalion.
Ah, a military motto. That explains the shift in energy when something becomes a rallying cry for soldiers.
Takes on a whole different intensity, doesn't it? For Carlson's Raiders, gung-ho came to mean something like work together in harmony, but in a very focused, mission-oriented, high-energy way. Ready for action, totally dedicated, fiercely enthusiastic about the task at hand.
So it went from let's cooperate to let's Jew, basically.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. It evolved from communal cooperation to this intense collective, almost zealous effort. A classic case of meaning shifting dramatically based on context and usage.
And then how did it jump from the Marines into everyday American English?
After World War II, the veterans came home. They brought the phrase with them. It popped up in news reports, magazine articles, even movies about the war, particularly about Carlson's Raiders. It caught on because it was catchy, sounded a bit exotic, and it was a powerful, concise way to describe someone with just immense enthusiasm, maybe even slightly overwhelming enthusiasm.
Right. So when Ted calls Nicole gung-ho about school, he's tapping into that modern meaning, completely detached from Chinese industry or WW2 battles, but the core energy is still there. High-level, focused excitement about something specific.
Precisely. It still carries that sense of zeal, that almost military-level dedication. The source gives examples. Heather is really gung-ho about her new job, or Sharon loves college, so she's very gung-ho about her classes.
It implies a real passion, maybe even bordering on obsessive for the cynical observer, like Ted.
It can, yeah. But understanding the origin story, that it's basically a linguistic souvenir from the battlefields of China and WW2, helps explain its punchy sound and its strong connotation. It's an idiom packed with history and cultural exchange.
That is fascinating. Knowing the backstory really does make it stick more. Okay, that was gung-ho. Now, let's pivot to the other phrase we wanted to dissect, the one suggested by Nicole's teacher. This introduces a phrase that looks simple but is actually pretty complex. Go into.
Yes, which brings us neatly to Section 3, professional pathways and multiple meanings.
And you said this section is really important for advanced learners.
Absolutely critical. Go into is a super common phrasal verb. And like a lot of common phrases, it's polysemous.
Meaning it has multiple meanings.
Many distinct meanings. And if you don't catch the right meaning from the context, you can misunderstand completely. Our source material gives us 4 different usages to explore.
Okay, let's start with the first one, the one that came up in Nicole's story. It's about aspirations, right? Entering a profession. The teacher suggested Nicole should go into politics.
Correct. This usage is pretty clean, pretty straightforward. It's about choosing or discussing a career path, a field of study, or some kind of professional endeavor. When you use go into this way, it's usually about future plans or decisions about your work life.
The source gives those nice examples linking personality to career, like Lisa enjoys arguing.
So she decided to go into law. Makes sense.
Or if you like solving people's problems.
Maybe you should consider going into psychology. Notice the grammar often involves thinking about the future decided to go into, considering going into. It's about committing to a field.
Okay, that's meaning number 1, entering a profession. But now things get trickier. Let's tackle the alternatives. What's the first one?
The first alternative is maybe the most basic. Enter, just physically moving into a space.
Literal movement.
Purely literal, concrete. Moving across a physical boundary, the example's perfect. Go into the house and get a pen.
Simple command. Directional.
Exactly. Direction, spatial movement. Often used as an instruction or imperative. The simplicity here is a bit deceptive, though, because the other meanings are way more abstract.
Okay, what's the second abstract one? The source mentions entering another emotional state. This sounds dramatic.
It usually is.
Yeah.
This usage takes go into the psychological realm. It implies a sudden, often involuntary shift from one state of being to another.
A transition.
A rapid transition. The key example from the source. Sally went into hysterics. She didn't just get gradually upset, she suddenly, uncontrollably became hysterical.
Okay, I see. So the grammar often reflects that suddenness, like using the simple past tense, went into.
Often, yes, it captures that abrupt change. You can say someone went into shock after hearing terrible news. Or maybe someone went into a rage. It signals this quick shift into a defined emotional zone, often one implying a loss of control or a really significant change in behavior.
So you have to contrast that with go into law. That takes years of planning, sustained effort.
Right, whereas go into hysterics can happen in a second. It's instantaneous, reactive.
Wow, the same 2 words. One implies a decade-long career plan, the other a 10-second emotional collapse.
That contrast is exactly why context is crucial. It's vital for the learner to see how wildly different the meanings can be.
Okay, which brings us to the third alternate meaning. This one feels very relevant professionally. Discuss details or elaborate.
Yes, you hear this one a lot in meetings, in academic discussions, even just in managing everyday conversations.
How does it work?
It essentially lets you control the depth of a conversation. When you use go into this way, you're referring to the possibility of a detailed, comprehensive discussion of a topic.
Okay.
but often you're really using it to explain why you can't do that detailed discussion right now.
Right.
The source gives the absolute classic example. I don't have time now to go into the whole story.
Ah, the classic time saver. Or maybe a polite way to avoid a long explanation.
Exactly. It's the meeting facilitator's friend. Okay, we're short on time, so we can't really go into the specifics of the marketing plan today, but let's look at the main objectives.
It signals there is more detail available, but we're choosing not to explore it now.
Precisely. It's a tool for managing information flow, managing time. It tells your listener, yes, this is complex, there's more here, but for now, we're staying at a higher level. Understanding this usage is key for participating fluently in professional settings, where you constantly have to decide how much detail is appropriate for the moment. It's about conversational efficiency.
Okay, so let's recap those meanings of go into. We had number 1, entering a profession, like politics or law.
Right, the aspirational meaning.
Number 2, physically entering a place, like go into the house.
The literal spatial meaning.
Number 3, entering an emotional state suddenly, like go into hysterics or shock.
The psychological transition.
And number 4, discussing something in detail, or often explaining why you won't discuss it in detail right now.
The elaborative or scoping meaning. 4 completely different concepts, all using the same little two-word phrase.
That really drives home the point about needing to analyze context constantly when you're listening or reading.
Absolutely. Being able to hear, go into, and instantly know which of those 4 meanings is intended professional, physical, emotional, or elaborative, that's a real sign of advanced fluency. It shows you're processing the language in context, not just word by word. The great benchmark for progress.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive has taken us through quite a journey. We use that family argument as a launch pad
Very effective one.
to dissect a whole range of communication tools, from high praise all the way to, well, the social dangers of using strong language inappropriately.
We really covered the spectrum. The importance of sincerity when you say someone is head and shoulders above. The simple positive impact of paying a compliment.
Right, the cost-free action.
Exactly. But then also the flip side. The serious social no-nos like butting in uninvited or the sheer aggression packed into telling someone to shut up.
And crucially, knowing the alternatives for that last one.
Essential. Knowing when not to use an idiom is just as important as knowing when to use it.
And we also had that fascinating detour into word history with gung-ho, tracing it from working together in Mandarin Chinese
Through its transformation by the U.S. Marine Corps in World War II.
to its modern meaning of intense enthusiasm. Knowing that story just makes the phrase so much more memorable. It's not just random sounds anymore.
It gives it depth. And finally, we tackled the complexity of a seemingly simple phrase like go into, seeing how it could mean starting a career or having an emotional breakdown or just managing a meeting agenda.
That really highlighted the need for contextual awareness.
And understanding the source examples for all these phrases, why someone might be shaking in their shoes versus just being on thin ice, or why being green with envy is different from just wanting something gives you, the learner, the necessary boundaries. You start to feel where these metaphors fit naturally.
So mastering these idioms, it's really like acquiring a kind of conversational currency, isn't it?
That's a perfect way to put it. They are the shortcuts. They let you express complex feelings or situations, whether you're feeling green with envy or totally gung-ho, in a way that's colorful, efficient, and instantly understood by native speakers.
They're vital tools for just navigating the unspoken rules, the social contract of English conversation.
Exactly. Using them correctly shows you're not just translating in your head. You're listening to the conversation, understanding the nuances, the culture behind the words. It proves you get the context that tells you when risky language like shut up might very rarely be deployed versus when it's absolutely off limits.
Okay. We've covered a lot today. Idioms tied to fear, praise, intense feelings, conflict. For you, the learner, as you continue to build this deeper level of English, here's something to chew on, a final thought to consider.
Right. We've looked closely at these phrases born from really strong emotions or conflict situations, things like green with envy or being on thin ice. Now, thinking about everything we've discussed today, the dictionary meaning versus the social weight, the potential for misunderstanding, which of these emotionally charged phrases do you think is actually the most challenging for a non-native speaker to use correctly? And why?
That's a tough one.
And maybe think specifically about phrases rooted in conflict, like butt in. What are the conversational risks? How do you make sure that when you use a strong idiom, you sound fluent and insightful, rather than, say, accidentally aggressive or just off-ag? The real key to mastery isn't just knowing what the words mean. It's knowing the impact, maybe even the cost of using them.
Good point. Keep diving deep into that context.
Absolutely. Keep exploring, keep listening, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Until then, keep talking.